The horse's head had a single red eye and a huge gaping mouth from which came a putrid cloud of smoke.
This ice demon is known for tickling its victims to death.
I feel like I would just die from fear. Welcome to Baba Yaga's Crib, where fairy tales come to life. We're your hosts, Olga
and Veronica,
and we're here to unravel myths, legends, paranormal encounters, and mysteries that defy explanation, all the while creating art inspired by the current topic. So light a candle, grab a pencil, and prepare to be bewitched. You just stepped into Baba Yaga's Crib. If you're interested in this type of content, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Today we'll be covering different mythological creatures that thrive in the winter. Creatures that like the ice and the snow and the cold weather.
Can't relate.
I know. So we each found a couple of creatures that we thought were interesting, and now we'll be sharing them with you. Okay, so the first creature is Nuckelavee, a half-horse, half-man demon from Scottish folklore. The name translates to the devil of the sea. It's kind of a fuse between centaur and a horseman. It has the body of a horse with a human head, with a torso attached to its back. It is completely skinless, which gives an appearance that it had been turned inside out.
That's disgusting.
I know, imagine seeing that. That's creepy. It has a single eye that glows red in the dark, fins on its legs, and extremely long arms that drag on the ground as it walks. I imagine those invisible horses from Harry Potter.
Yeah, but I feel like they're kind of cute, whereas the Nuckelavee just sounds like something out of a nightmare.
I know, it sounds like a creature from hell.
Yeah, it does.
The Nuckelavee is considered one of the most fearsome demons in Scotland's Northern Isles. The Nuckleavee's breath is deadly and is said to wilt crops and sicken livestock.
Ooh.
It kind of reminds me of that episode of SpongeBob when he was like, "Hi, my name is SpongeBob and I'm so ugly," or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
His breath just like kills people or fish. It is also believed that this creature has the ability to cause droughts and bring on diseases. It can't stand fresh water and will not come out on land if it's raining. The only thing that can keep it under control is the Myther o' the Sea, an ancient Arcadian being. In the summer, she keeps the Nuckelavee in confinement, but as the winter comes, her power weakens and Nuckelavee is able to escape its cage and wreak havoc on the islanders. The one first-hand account with the Nuckelavee came from the islander named Thomas. He claimed to have encountered the beast when he was walking home one night. At first he thought it was a rider, but as the creature got closer, he realized that the human torso had no legs, and was instead growing from the horse's back. The human head was massive, around 3 feet in diameter, and was rolling back and forth.
Ew.
That sounds so gross. It's so weird to me that it has a weird torso attached.
It almost feels like someone saw a rider in the dark.
And that's how they got the idea?
Yeah.
They made up the fact that it was inside out. Unless the rider was dead. Something ate him and he was still on top of the horse.
Ew, ate its legs?
Or something creepy. Or I was thinking, what if it's a creature that almost took over a horse, merged itself with a horse? Sounds like something that mutated.
It kind of makes me think of the fish that lives at the bottom of the ocean. What is it called? The anglerfish? It has the light bulb and it's almost like a way to lure other fish. So to me, the human torso almost sounds like it's trying to be I'm a human.
You should wear an outfit then.
It's not doing a very good job, but it tried.
Those
give it some slack.
When kids try to pretend they're an adult and they're get on top of each other and wear a long coat.
Yeah. 3 babies in a trench coat.
Yeah. The horse's head had a single red eye and a huge gaping mouth from which came a putrid cloud of smoke. What horrified Thomas even more was that it had no skin. It was just a huge bloody mass of muscles and veins. As the thing moved toward Thomas, he stumbled back into a lake and the water splashed into the horse's leg. The monster retreated with a horrible screech, giving Thomas the opportunity to escape by running to the opposite side of the nearby channel of fresh water. Each creature will be accompanied by a story we found of the real-life encounters of people writing in, talking about what they've seen in real life encounters. So this story comes from our No Sleep subreddit. I discovered an ancient evil and am being silenced.
Ooh. Sounds promising.
I had always been fascinated by the strange and unexplained, which is why I became a journalist. I had covered everything from UFO sightings to ghost stories, but nothing could have prepared me for what I would uncover in the remote Scottish countryside. I had been sent to investigate a series of bizarre livestock deaths and the disappearances of several farmers. The locals whispered of a creature known as the Nuckelavee, a being so grotesque and malevolent that even the bravest of men feared it. As I made my way through the desolate landscape, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The wind howled through the valleys and the sky was dark and foreboding. It was as if the very air was alive with some ancient malevolent force. I finally arrived at the last known location of one of the missing farmers, a ramshackle cottage on the edge of the windswept moor. As I approached the door, a sense of dread washed over me. I hesitated for a moment before mustering the courage to knock. There was no answer, so I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The cottage was in disarray with overturned furniture and shattered crockery thrown across the floor. It was clear that there had been a struggle. As I made my way through the debris, I heard a faint whispering sound. It was as if someone or something was muttering it in incomprehensible language. The sound grew louder as I followed it to a small darkened room at the back of the cottage. I pushed open the door and was met with a sight that will haunt me for the rest of my days. The room was empty, save for a single grotesque figure huddled in the center. The Nuckelavee.
Gasp.
It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. Its skin was a sickly shade of green, and it was covered in oozing sores and pustules. Its head was elongated and grotesque, with a gaping fang-filled mouth and eyes that glowed in an otherworldly light.
I thought it's supposed to have one eye.
Maybe it has like little eyes?
Little beady eyes.
As I stood frozen in terror, the creature slowly began to rise to its feet. Its body was a twisted mess of sinew and muscles, and it towered over me like some demonic giant. It let out a blood-curdling scream, and I felt a searing pain in my chest, as if my very soul was being torn from my body. I fell to my knees, gasping for breath, as the creature loomed over me. But then something strange happened. The creature seemed to falter, and its grip on me loosened. It let out another deafening scream before vanishing into thin air. I stumbled out of the cottage, heart pounding and mind reeling. I knew that I had witnessed something truly horrific, but I also knew that I had survived, and that was enough.
I wonder why it didn't kill him.
I don't know, maybe he didn't smell good or something.
I mean, I feel like that says a lot because the Nuckelavee sounds like it smells disgusting.
That's true. But maybe he wore too much cologne and like didn't smell like a human.
Maybe. It sounds like something scared it almost.
Yeah.
And it ran away.
As I made my way back to civilization, I couldn't help but wonder how many others had fallen victim to the Nuckelavee. How many lives had been lost to this ancient malevolent force? Or was it my imagination tricking me into believing something impossible?
I almost wonder if this creature, because it says that it randomly just like ran away, basically. I wonder if it feeds on fear. Like maybe it doesn't actually kill you. Maybe like it's trying to scare you to death because it's so scary looking.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not enough kind of about this creature, I feel like, to know exactly.
Yeah. It kind of sounds
what
like
its deal is.
The lore is like kind of travels through word of mouth than written documents.
Mm-hmm. After my encounter, I was plagued with nightmares for days. Every time I closed my eyes, I would see its twisted, monstrous form looming over me, its glowing eyes boring into my soul. But I was also determined to uncover the truth about the creature and the strange events that had been occurring in the Scottish countryside. I delved deeper into the local folklore and discovered that the Nuckelavee was a creature of ancient legend, said to be the embodiment of all the evil in the world. It was said to dwell in the depths of the ocean, emerging only to wreak havoc on the land. I also uncovered a pattern in the livestock deaths and farmer disappearances. They all occurred near the coast, and there were reports of strange unexplained sightings in the area. I knew that I had to investigate further, so I made my way to the coast, determined to uncover the truth. As I walked along the rocky shore, I saw something moving in the water. At first, I thought it was just a school of fish, but as it drew closer, I realized that it was something far more sinister. A horse with only one red eye and no skin reared its grotesque head out of the water. A torso of a man attached to its back with its arms dragging on the black sand.
So now it only has one eye?
I guess.
I guess he could have just like...
I think he just has hidden eyes that you don't see. Like,
maybe.
Because the idea that we get of the monster is from people probably briefly seeing it, and whoever survived it probably didn't get close enough to actually know all the details that it has. So I feel like it could potentially has little eyes that people don't see.
It has little hidden eyes that we don't see.
And one big one, the Eye of Sauron.
Oh my god, like the tower.
Yeah. The Nuckelavee had emerged from the depths of the ocean, its hideous form illuminated by the moonlight. It let out a deafening scream, and I knew that I was in grave danger. Every hair on my arms was raised and my breath was shortened. But I refused to back down. I had come too far to let the creature defeat me. Despite every nerve in my body telling me to run, I decided to fight. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small bottle of holy water that I had obtained from the local priest.
Bold move.
Also, how does he know that would work? I threw the holy water at the creature, and it let out another piercing scream. It writhed in agony, its skin sizzling and burning under the holy water. The smell of burnt flesh and fresh mud filled the air. I took my chance and ran, fleeing back up the coast toward civilization. I could hear the creature's scream echoing behind me, but I refused to look back. I could still feel its red-hot gazing, fetishizing my soul.
Fetishizing? What does that mean?
Sexualizing the soul. When I finally reached safety, I collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath. I knew that I had nearly escaped death, and that Nuckelavee was still out there waiting for its next victim, staring at me through the dense, unnatural fog with its one red, piercing eye. But I had also uncovered the truth about the creature, and I knew that I had to warn others about its existence.
It sounds like they already know about it. That he got the information from the islanders, and now he's like, I'm gonna tell you what you told me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I need to spread the word. I still have
dude, we know. We told you not to go.
I still have nightmares. I'm also proud of what I accomplished.
What did he accomplish exactly? It sounds like he just made it mad.
Yeah, he just pissed it off. Now he's gonna attack the islanders. So he's like, okay, bye.
My work here is done.
Yeah. Yeah, so pretty much he just pissed it off more, and the poor islanders.
Yeah, he didn't really defeat it. He just threw holy water at it and injured it, and now it's gonna be pissed off coming after everyone else.
Well, maybe he thinks he's going to be more aware of people, so he won't attack them as much. I don't know.
Don't know about that. Sounds like it has a certain agenda, and I don't think it's going to stop.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, so this next creature comes from the Inuit mythology, and it's called Mahaha, also known as the tickler.
Ew.
It's a malevolent spirit that wanders the Arctic regions, scaring the locals with its horrifying, maniacal laughter. This ice demon is known for tickling its victims to death. Mahaha is described as extremely gaunt and bony with bluish skin. It has abnormally long fingers, tipped with sharp claws, long stringy hair, wide eyes, and a permanent grin etched into its haggard face. Even though it appears feeble on the outside, Mahaha possesses superhuman strength and incites fear into anyone who's unfortunate enough to encounter it. Its victims have been found frozen to death with twisted smiles carved into their lifeless faces. If you do end up running into this demon, though, there is hope for you yet, because according to the folklore, it does have one weakness: water. Apparently, they will never refuse a drink, so if you can lure it to the nearest stream and wait for it to bend its head to take a sip, you can push it in and it will drown, I guess, because it can't swim.
So it likes water, but it also dies from it?
I guess it's like its weakness in the way that it's like really drawn to it.
Water.
Yeah. And this creature is used as a cautionary tale, teaching people to respect nature and be wary of the harsh Arctic climates. AKA, don't go wandering out into the wild because you will most likely freeze to death. So this story is about a person who might have encountered Mahaha without realizing it. It's from r/paranormal, and it's called A Weird Laugh I Heard in Rural Minnesota. I used to live alone in northern rural Minnesota, near the Canadian border, in a cabin as a seasonal employee. On winter night, I was trying to go to sleep at 2 a.m. and I heard the weirdest echo of an evil male laugh. It sounded like it came straight out of a horror movie. It lasted about a minute, then faded away slowly. I was in disbelief and I thought maybe it was coming from my phone, but I quickly realized that the laugh was coming from the outside. For a second, I thought someone was playing a joke on me, but there was a snowstorm happening, so I doubt anyone would be out there. The people from the company lived about an hour away, and I did not have any roommates. I got up, looked outside through the window, but I didn't see anything. I often ask myself how I was able to hear the laugh so clearly, through the storm and the howling of the wind. I never heard anything like it before. It was very clear and sounded very dark and malicious, plus the slow fading made it even creepier. A year later, the company contacted me asking if I wanted to work there again.
No thanks.
But remembering that bone-chilling laugh, I declined.
What was he doing again?
He was just working at he didn't really specify what he was doing there, but it says he lived in a cabin as a seasonal employee.
Yeah, that's creepy. It's just middle nowhere. It's not like there was any humans around or anything like that.
I wonder if it was like a coyote or something.
Yeah, it could be too.
Because I remember when I lived at parents' house, I heard like the creepiest laugh ever. I was like laying in bed and I remember it was 1 a.m. or something, and I heard like children's laughter, and I was like, oh, there's kids playing outside, but then I was like, it's like past midnight, so like obviously it's not children, and I was so creeped out, and then I realized that
children.
Yeah, I realized that it was just like coyotes, because there's like a bunch of them in that area.
I also heard like foxes make pretty weird noises.
Yeah, foxes, also mountain lions also make like scary noises, but it sounds more like a woman screaming.
At least it wasn't in Appalachia.
But yeah, it's interesting because it is like this took place near the Canadian border, so it could be Mahaha. But yeah, that would creep me out if I just heard laughter outside, especially if I was alone. When you're alone at night, you definitely, like, your mind starts to imagine things and like kind of assume the worst. Okay, moving on.
This next creature is called the Chenoo. It's an evil spirit that comes from Algonquin folklore. What's interesting about Chenoo is that it used to be a human but was corrupted by dark magic and transformed into cannibalistic ice giant.
Yeah, I actually illustrated a children's book that featured kind of like a variation of this creature. It was called Chenoo with a J. It's basically the same type of creature, like a giant that eats humans, that was also corrupted by dark magic. The Chenoo is specifically from the Mi'kmaq folklore. But yeah, it's also like this creature that used to be human and then was turned into a giant as a curse.
That's a really interesting concept. I feel like we should do more in-depth episode on this because there's so much to it. And the comic book that you did was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of folklore around that.
In some depictions, the Chenoo is covered in white fur with bowl-like horns, In others, it looks more like a haggard, emaciated man with long, jagged fingernails and wolfish eyes. Its sharp teeth are always on display because it had chewed off its own lips due to extreme hunger.
That is so terrifying.
And disgusting.
Yeah.
The Chenoo is in a constant state of starvation, and the only thing that can satiate it is human flesh. According to the legends, it's possible to kill a Chenoo, though it usually takes a lot to ensure it stays dead. One of the ways to do that is to chop up its body into tiny pieces. You also have to make sure you destroy its icy heart by tricking it into eating salt or by forcing it to eat so much that they throw it up.
How can you force it to eat?
I don't know.
I feel like it would eat you first before you could make it do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how that would take place. I feel like if I saw something like that, I would just run away. I don't think I would try to catch it and like chop it into pieces.
Do you want to go to McDonald's?
Feed it a bunch of salt.
Yeah, in the comic that I did, they used salt to like put a ring around the Chenoo. And then they used sweet grass to smoke cleanse it. And then it turned to stone. And then the stone crumbled and the spirit of the human left and was like at peace.
Spoilers. In some stories, the Chenoo can be reversed to its original human form through act of kindness. In the legend, the girl and the Chenoo, a sister and a brother, stumble upon Chenoo tracks. The girl leaves a basket of berries for the monster, and when it shows up, she pretends to mistake it for their grandfather.
That's an interesting technique. Like, just be like, hey, granddad. And he's like, huh? Just gets so confused that he forgets to eat them.
The Chenoo becomes confused and doesn't know what else to do but keep the illusions. It begins performing tasks such as chopping wood for the campfire and hunting animals for food. When it comes time for the brother and sister to return home, they build a sweat lodge. The Chenoo climbs inside it and coughs up its icy heart, reverting back to its human form.
That's wholesome. I like that.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than make it eat a bunch of salt and chop it into pieces.
Yeah.
Kind of messed up. In another legend, a woman gets turned into a Chenoo by a man she had rejected. When the woman realizes she had been cursed, she convinces her family to pierce her heart with 7 arrows so that she doesn't end up slaughtering them all.
I don't like that one as much.
Stupid men.
Yeah, seriously.
So the story that goes along with this one is from Our Paranormal Encounters subreddit, and it's called Had a Run-In While Stargazing. Hi everyone, this happened about 4 hours ago, and still I'm shaking and panicking uncontrollably. I just got home, so I went to write everything down while it's still fresh. To give a complete rundown, I live in Ontario, Canada, close to Toronto. I heard on the news that tonight there would be a chance to see the Northern Lights again. This past May, I went and saw them and wanted to take the opportunity to see them again. Last May, I went with a couple of buddies, but no one was available this time. The plan was to drive 4 hours to Algonquin Park, hike in the middle of the forest, make a campfire, smoke some Marlboros, and drive back after stargazing. I ended up driving about 2 hours before my friend sent me a text saying there's no real forecast for the Northern Lights. I decided to go anyway and just stargaze. It's a hobby of mine. I drove up another hour, and at this point it was about 11 p.m. in the middle of nowhere. No signs of humans other than the road in the pitch black. Only a man would do this though. Like go in the middle of nowhere, drive like 2 hours to stargaze by himself.
I mean, yeah, I feel like no one should do that in general because it just sounds really dangerous.
I remember when my husband worked away in like oil field, and he told me one time where he was driving towards like a work site, and he saw a vehicle parked in the middle of the road. So like he had a truck, so he went into the ditch and kind of went around. But he was like, I'm not going to stop in the middle of the night, because it was like in the middle of the night. And he was like, in that area, it's been known to kind of people robbing or killing you. Just
That's
because
scary.
it's a very like isolated area. So he was just freaked out. So he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to stop
Good call.
to find out what happens kind of thing. He
Yeah.
just like, oh, I just went into the ditch and kind of like went around it.
Good thing he didn't get stuck in the ditch.
Yeah.
That's sketchy.
But it always sketches me out to drive at night. Like even when we go on road trips and stuff like that, I always feel sketched out, like pulling over and taking a nap or something, because it's like you don't know what's around there. Like even if I'm more scared of humans.
Oh yeah.
Than animals or monsters. But I was on a call with my buddy since it was a pretty boring drive, and I started mentioning how beautiful the stars looked. My buddy then recommended that I take some pictures. I pulled over, turned off all the lights in my car while leaving it running, and stood beside the forest. For about 5 minutes, everything was fine. I was admiring the stars and gushing to my friend about it. Right about that time, the forest went completely quiet. There was literally zero sound other than the wind and the trees. I immediately felt like something was wrong and went to grab my flashlight to see if there was a bear or something. I walked a little bit into the woods and turned on my flashlight. I heard a rustle, and when I turned around, I saw this thing, standing on its hind legs, with bright orange-red glow to its eyes. It was about 50 meters away. I told my buddy what I was seeing when all of a sudden, my signal went dead. I stared at the thing for a second before it sprinted toward me at full speed.
Oh my god.
I immediately went into fight or flight and dashed to my car, going in and redlining it until I was doing 300 kilometers an hour. That's pretty fucking fast.
Yeah. I mean, I would also be doing that if I saw that thing sprinting at me.
Yeah.
Not taking any chances.
I'm usually a pretty casual guy and not spooked by much, but I was shaking, crying, sobbing, and trying to run away as fast as I could. Before anyone says anything, it wasn't a bear or anything similar. I started spam calling everyone and anyone I could until I got a hold of my best friend and started crying and sobbing to him about what happened to me. But what was he wearing though? At this point, he just wants to check in to see if I was okay and whatnot. I started describing to him what I saw and used the name of the subreddit, I don't want to say it even in text, to describe what I saw. It was this super unnatural looking thing and it had really spooked me. Right around here is when I felt all the muscles in my body becoming sore and cramping up. It turned out when I had initially dashed to my car, I basically output all the force I could to get away. I'm an ex-rugby player, power lifter, so my instincts were forcibly making me get out as fast as possible. What does that have anything to do with being a rugby player, though?
I don't know, I guess they have
like, it's not like he tackled him. After about 30 seconds of saying the name, I saw the same figure on the side of the road following me with its head and glowing eyes. I proceeded to hyperventilate and freak out more until my friend calmed me down and told me to get the fuck out of there. I started looking for a way to make a U-turn, but couldn't find anything. At this point, I drove another 15 minutes before I could find somewhere to turn without stopping. I was starting to slow down and U-turn when I heard this ear-splitting scream from my window, so I gunned it back the direction I came. I started freaking out more, telling my friend as everything was happening. Then I got a sinking feeling in my stomach that something was watching me. I looked over the empty road and saw nothing. All of a sudden, my signal went out again, and I heard the scream and saw a kind of humanoid body in the fetal position on the side of the road. Then I saw its head look up and stare at me directly. I gunned it again. I couldn't get the goosebumps and sinking feeling to stop. I continued trying to contact everyone I found, but no avail.
This guy's just going through it. Like,
Jesus Christ. He's just like, ah!
Get me out of here.
As I was trying to calm myself down with my Kanye CD, I heard something tapping on my sunroof. I don't know how I knew, but I knew something wanted me to open the cover and look through. I prevailed and never looked, but never lost that sinking feeling. I heard the tapping sound on and off, rhythmically, kind of like drums, for about an hour until I reached a small town. At this point, I've gotten a hold of my friend and puked in my car.
Oh my god, poor guy.
He told me to describe Elden Ring lore to him to calm me down. After about an hour of paranoia, I stopped crying and freaking out. I drove as fast as possible to get home, but I still can't shake the feeling that they're still on me. I've locked all my doors and windows and I'm still shaking like crazy. I don't know what to do and I'm freaking out. That's really scary. Imagine just being alone in the woods.
This is why you don't go outside ever.
Well, I'm assuming he just never wanted to do something like this again.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I wonder if that thing followed him all the way home. Just like hitched a ride on his car.
Yeah, do you think it got attached to the car?
It sounds like it had like a physical body.
It sounds like Jeepers Creepers.
Oh my god, yeah. Like it
Because you
didn't
can't
sound
really
like
run
a
away
ghost.
from it almost.
Maybe it was a ghost. Like a spirit.
You have to be pretty brave to go into the woods by yourself at night. Like, even as a man, I just feel like it's too creepy.
No, yeah, because there's like so many things that could go wrong. Like there could be people that are trying to hurt you. There could be animals, skinwalkers. Never know what you're going to run into in those woods.
So we have another story for Chenoo. This one comes from Paranormal Encounters subreddit, and it's called The Thing in the Forest. Trigger warning, this story does mention suicide, so if you find this topic upsetting, please skip forward. Hello everyone, this is not my story. This is a story told by the stepfather of a good friend of mine. These are his words. My story is about a scary experience I had about 15 years ago while exploring Canada that made me feel like I was crazy. When I was 30 years old, I went on a trip alone to explore the boreal forest in Canada and Alaska. I went alone to try and find myself again after going through some very stressful circumstances. But that's a different story, and it does have a connection to what happened during my trip. I had planned this trip for close to a year and spent a lot of money to ensure this trip was what I wanted. It cost close to $70,000 for just over 6 months, which was actually cheap for what I wanted to do. I planned this trip to be a solo, secluded adventure as much as I could to explore northern remote Alaska and territories of Canada, which included a 4-week camping trip, which is where the scary story begins. I hired some of the indigenous people to help with my plans. They were very kind and offered me many options to satisfy my requests. One of the options they recommended really stood out. However, I did have to allow company for most of the first 3 months of my trip, but the camping trip would be 100% solo.
3 months?
3 months.
3 months is such a long time for a camping trip. Can't imagine doing that, especially
I can
like
only
in
do
winter.
like a couple days camping, unless there's a shower and like a heated bathroom. Like, there's no way I'm staying, especially in the cold weather. Fuck that. It sounded amazing, so I agreed. I would start in Point Hope, Alaska, and make my way across to northern Ontario. The trip would start off by mostly dog sledding, snowmobiling, other snow vehicles, and flying where it wasn't feasible to travel by land. I would mostly hunt and fish for food, create fires, and cook what I caught. But I also brought plenty of survival food. This is why I agreed with a company. They were guides who knew the terrain and how to navigate through it safely. They shared some food they brought with them, like bannock and dried meats like deer, moose, and elk. We would camp out along the way to stay in yurts, sometimes even motels in small towns. They told me stories about tales from their culture passed down by many generations, and I ended up enjoying their company. The trip was amazing. I saw so much wildlife, and the scenery was amazing, especially the sky. I had never really seen northern lights like this before, and the crackling was something I didn't know they did. They were bright, and with how clear I saw the Milky Way, it gave me a sense of peace.
It does sound really nice.
Yeah, but I don't think I would be able to do that by myself.
No. Unless you're like super prepared and you know you have like survival skills. I feel like that would just
Yeah.
end
I'm
badly.
assuming this person did this in the past. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
It
a lot
sounds
of
like
people
he knows
are
what he's doing.
Yeah. So he was into camping previously. Probably it's not like the first time he's done this. But it's definitely one of those bigger trips that you plan like for a long time. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, but I remember watching a movie with Reese Witherspoon where she went on like a camping trip by herself. She wanted to prove to herself that she can do it, and then she gets like stuck somewhere in the mountains.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's like a survival kind of situation.
Need to watch that.
I saw a pack of wolves take down a moose, owls, eagles, foxes, and even polar bears, which made my guides a bit nervous, though they did have a firearm for emergencies. We laughed, had a few drinks, cooked beef, hog, and fish, and had a blast. It was an amazing experience. See, like, I feel like it would be nice to do it with a group of people, but by yourself, it's so scary.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with wild animals around.
But it also makes me think of the Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah.
The group of campers went into the mountains and then never returned.
They probably saw Chenoo.
Chenoo.
John Cena! They guided my journey until we got to Fort Severn, where we would rest for the day. From here, we would part ways and would travel alone. This is where my trip turns into my most horrifying experience. The next morning, I gathered my things, bought a bit of food, and headed out. I planned to head deep into the Ontario Boreal Forest alone. I had previously pinned a location deep into the forest on my GPS to travel to. I wasn't 100% sure I could make it, but that was part of the challenge. I traveled on foot for 10 hours straight during the day and slept at night in a hammock. It wasn't easy by any means. The forest was dense and hard to tread through, but I was determined. Everything was fine for the first 2 days. I managed to cover about 20 kilometers, but on the third morning, I had an eerie feeling. That morning, some of my stuff was scattered around, but I just told myself that it was probably some animals trying to get at the food I hung in a tree. But the weird thing was, I didn't hear anything at night. It was very quiet, no noises of animals or insects. It didn't occur to me that anything was wrong. So I gathered my things, ate, and then headed out again. It started to get dark, so I decided to find a good place to sleep for the night. Once I did, I set up a camp. This time, everything that wasn't essential was hung in the trees. I lit a fire, made some food, and just enjoyed the scenery at the sunset. Then once it got really dark, I heard something. It sounded like a very familiar voice of someone calling for help in a little girl's voice. "Help me, I'm lost." That voice almost made me cry, and it was extremely unnerving.
That is terrifying.
I looked around the best I could, but at that point it was pitch black, and my line of sight was probably about 10 feet. I nervously called out, "Sherry, are you okay? Can you see my fire?" Then again, I heard, "Help me." The voice changed a little. It was deeper. "Help me."
Help me!
Now the hairs on the back of my neck raised, and a sudden sense of danger overwhelmed me. I took out my flashlight and looked around more thoroughly, and then that's when I saw it. A figure hunched over within the trees, arms fully stretched out to the side, with its fingers spread out in a natural manner, eyes glowing. It had an oversized mouth, open very wide and smiling. I'm imagining this like giant thing just like trying to hide, but you can still see it, and it's like...
That is so creepy. It also kind of makes me think of Mahaha because it was smiling.
I just stood there trying to comprehend what the fuck I was seeing until its head rotated upside down and it collapsed to the ground, then started crawling really fast towards me.
Oh my god.
I feel like I would just like die from fear. I don't think I would be able to just like do anything.
I think I would freeze for sure, unfortunately. I don't have very good instincts when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I heard bones snapping. I don't know what I was thinking, but I heard a whisper, "Run." So I bolted. I left everything I had there except a flashlight in my hand and a bit of emergency dried food I had in my pouch. I ran as fast as I could, and I didn't stop, but I heard it pursuing me and calling me, telling me to stop, in what sounded like my wife. I kept hearing, "Please stop, I'm scared," but I ran anyway.
I'm scared too, bitch.
I don't know how I managed to navigate through the forest, but I did end up falling down a small hill into a wet mud pit and just laid there. I heard my wife calling me, Sherry asking me where I was or saying she was scared, a cell phone ringing to my wife's tone, weird chattering noises, a voice saying, "I'm hungry, where are you?" Growling and lots of footsteps all over the place. But I was so petrified, I just laid there paralyzed with fear like I never felt before. That mud pit ended up being my saving grace because after what seemed like an eternity, the voices stopped and I heard the sound of morning birds, and the sun began to rise. I waited until it was fully light out and crawled out of the pit. I gathered my head and checked what I had, a bit of water, a couple of bars of food, and thankfully my GPS. I managed to navigate to a country road. It took me another 5 days staying in ditches at night along the road while this thing was trying to hunt me, taunting me with every trick it had up its sleeve. I think the mud made it lost track of me. Also, like, wouldn't it be cold as hell? Like, how would he be able to just stay in ditches without freezing?
I don't know.
Because he also said he like didn't take any of his stuff, so...
It sounds like he got really lucky because he had the GPS with him.
Probably froze off a bunch of toes or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not mentioned, but During the day, I would navigate towards the closest town. Along the way, I managed to get to a highway where I saw one long semi-truck traveling towards the town. Flagged it down. The guy, an older gentleman driving, looked and asked if I was okay. All I said was, I've been lost for over a week straight and running from some animals. He looked at me and said, "You were lucky." The man told me a story about his brother who went hunting in these forests. He said he wouldn't talk about what happened except that the forest was haunted. Whatever his brother experienced scared him enough that he never went hunting ever again. I ended up telling him what happened. The guy's face went pale, and we were silent for the rest of the ride. He drove me to Kenora, where he let me stay at his place for the night. In the morning, his brother came by. He and the old man talked. The old man's name was Steve, and his brother is Jim. Jim looked back at me, eyes wide open. I nodded back at him. We both shared our stories. What I described was exactly what he saw. I ended up staying in Kenora. We all became pretty good friends. But Steve died about 3 months after this. He was 63. His brother and I stayed friends for about 2 years until he died of liver failure because he was an alcoholic. I tried my best to get him to stop drinking, but the nightmares kept him reliving that experience. I had them too, so I understood he needed an element of escape. I too became an alcoholic. The nightmares were just too much. He was only 35 when he passed. His friendship meant a lot to me. Afterwards, about another year, I moved to Winnipeg and tried to get my life back in order. I joined AA and got clean. This is where I met my current friends. I told my story at a meeting. I started with, "I don't care if you think I'm crazy." So that's my story. And I'm not the best writer, so my apologies if it isn't written all that great. So, some backstory. Sherry was my daughter. She was 5, but got cancer and lost the battle. She died 4 months after her diagnosis. My wife couldn't take the pain and ended up hanging herself 6 months after Sherry died. It was her voice that told me to run. After their deaths, I was destroyed so much that I planned this trip not to find myself. What I really meant was that I planned this trip for me to also commit suicide. I was going to hang myself deep in the forest to rot because that's how I felt inside. Rotten. I used my entire life savings to plan this trip because I had no intention to come back. I think back to this day many times. It made me reconsider taking my life, and I went to therapy. I'm still working towards coming to terms with my past, but things are much better now. This one is really dark.
Yeah. He's also kind of lucky that he ran into a good person because that could have easily been someone with like also bad intentions.
Yeah, that's so scary. The monster kind of also reminds me of Skinwalker because he was like mimicking the voices of his daughter and his wife. I also wonder, like, how do these creatures know, like, the details about people's lives?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Can they read minds?
Maybe.
I always think it's super creepy to me when things masquerading as something else. I don't know why, to me it's so freaky when it appears to be something it's not.
It's very unnerving for sure. The fact that like it haunted him for days is so scary. Like imagine the next morning you're like, know that it's gonna come back tonight and you have to like hide.
Well, you also don't know because it's not like you for sure know it only hunts at night, right?
Yeah.
It could also do that during the day, potentially. Like it's not like a vampire that it just comes at night. I don't know. It's really spooky. And I feel really bad for the guy because he was just trying to, well, I guess he went there to commit suicide, but
he was already going through something.
Yeah.
I wonder if like his grief attracted the monster.
Maybe it was like feeding off of it.
Yeah.
With a lot of these, it's really unclear kind of what the intentions are of the monsters. Do they actually like attack you and eat you like a predator? Or do they prey on your energy, soul, or whatever? Moving on to the next creature. That looks like Gollum.
I know.
The one I drew looks like a kid drew it.
Okay, so this last creature we're going to cover today is called Yuki Onna, or Snow Woman. And she's an evil spirit from the Japanese folklore that resides in the colder parts of Japan, like the Alps, and preys on travelers during snowstorms. Sometimes she can even get inside your home if you're not careful enough and you'll leave your door unlocked. Yuki Onna takes the form of a beautiful woman with long black hair, pale skin, and blue lips. She uses her icy breath to suck the life force from her victims, freezing them to death. Yuki Onna and Mahaha should get together, because it sounds like they have the same passion for freezing people. There are many origin stories about Yuki Onna. In some, she's a human girl who perished in a snowstorm. In others, she's a moon princess who came down to Earth out of boredom and was unable to return home. Though this spirit can be very dangerous, according to some legends, Yuki Onna sometimes spares her victims, especially if she finds them attractive.
She's like, he's kind of cute. I'm not going to kill you.
Cute. Fine, you can go. Just like text me.
Is it applying to men and women?
I don't know. I think so. Asking for a friend. In some legends, she even goes as far as to marry them, though these marriages don't usually end well.
No shit.
In one legend, Yuki Onna spares the life of a young boy but makes him promise to never speak of their encounter. When the boy grows up and gets married, he tells his wife about the time he saw the snow spirit. His wife then reveals to him that she is Yuki Onna.
Dun dun dun!
Bet you didn't expect that.
Got you, motherfucker!
Bastard. Though she is angry that he broke the promise, she spares his life once again for the sake of their children. See, she's not that bad. Like, she cares about her kids.
Yeah, she's lovely.
Love her. In another legend, Yuki Onna visits an old couple that operates an inn up in the mountains. She comes in during a heavy snowstorm, pretending to be a lost traveler. The couple welcomes her, sitting her down by the fire and offering her food. At some point in the night, Yuki Onna stands up and heads out the door despite the blizzard raging outside. Afraid that she would freeze to death, the innkeeper tries to stop her by grabbing her hand. She then turns into a whirlwind of snow and flies out the chimney, disappearing into the night. Nice magic trick.
She's like, poof, and I'm gone.
Sick trick. Okay, so now we're going to read some possible encounters with Yuki Onna. This first story comes from r/paranormal, and it's called Old Creepy Japanese Ski Resort. So in the summer of 2017, I traveled to Nagano, Japan, the mountainous region north of Tokyo. I went with my missions team to do some work for one of the small mountain villages inhabiting the mountain peak Norikura. My team and I were there for a total of 2 weeks and a half, assisting the locals developing some biking trails to bring in revenue during off-season. The employee building I stayed at was pretty obsolete compared to the guests' building. Despite its large size, the employee building only had 3 small bathrooms. I would straighten my hair at night due to the days being so busy with work. No bathroom in the building featured mirrors, and all bathrooms were on the first floor. So I would usually go to the large mirror in the middle of the 3 bathrooms. One night, it was around 12 to 1 a.m., and I was doing my hair in front of the mirror. Behind me, there were 3 traditional Japanese rooms featuring big sliding doors of wood and paper called shoji. Hope I'm saying this right. No one slept in these rooms for the entire time I was there. My flat iron was kind of old and smelled unpleasant when I would use it, so every time I decided to do my hair, I would check the rooms first to make sure no one was around, as to not disturb them.
That's considerate.
The only light on was above the mirror, and I could see directly into the room behind me. Utter pitch darkness. Anyway, as I was about halfway through doing my hair, I heard a slight tapping sound on what sounded like glass. The taps went from slow to fast in a quick 2 seconds or so. Tap, 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 tap. The sound came from the room directly behind me, and my nostrils cleared. Was someone outside watching me from the room behind me? Before my thoughts got the best of me, I quickly decided to ignore it and hurried with my hair. I was a little freaked out, so I started to rush, and maybe about 10 minutes later, I felt okay enough to take my time again. I focused my view on the darkness of the room through the mirror behind me, and told myself that I was just working myself up, and since we were literally in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, it was highly unlikely someone was out there at this time of night.
Except for Yuki.
Once I got to tying one side of my hair up, I heard a faint shuffle. I paused and watched silently with my heart in my stomach. Then out of nowhere, the shoji behind me slid shut with a loud bang. I was gone. I booked it. I didn't even notice that I was still holding it to my flat iron, and I was yanked back from it, being stuck in the plug, and at that point I just dropped it without thinking and ran up the stairs as fast as I could to my room. Everything happened so fast, and my hair was left half curly. By the time it was the morning, I heard one of the resort workers complaining about the flat iron being halfway out of the plug sprawled out on the ground. I went to go get it and noticed the shoji was actually closed. I asked around, and no one was allowed to stay in those rooms since they were under renovations apparently. I told my friend Kaya what happened, and she advised me to avoid speaking about spirits since it encourages the conjuring of unwanted entities. So I kept quiet, and doubtless to say after that I kept my hair curly for the remainder of the trip. Just remembering the long, dark, winding hallways and whatever the hell was with me that night freaks me out every time I do my hair alone at night. I'm just so glad I never saw any entity that night.
That's freaky. Do you think she thought she was cute?
Maybe she liked her hair curly and she was like, stop straightening your hair. Bang.
She's like, stop copying me, bitch. Or maybe she wanted the straightening iron. I guess she didn't take it though.
She was like,
This was a knockoff.
She wanted that expensive brand. I wonder if there was like some type of draft in the room. I guess the sliding doors wouldn't be affected by draft.
That's true. It was probably just
a ghost.
Yeah. Yuki. Sounds like John Lennon's girlfriend. What was her name?
Yoko. Oh my god. She's literally called Yoko Ono.
I'm a bad dancer.
So the second story comes from r/paranormal and it's called Hoshino Ski Resort, Tomanu, Hokkaido, Japan. Hopefully I said that right. I was about 14 when my friend and I planned to travel to Japan to a ski resort with his family. It was December 2017. I remember feeling excited and thrilled to go. I'm a Christian, so I do believe in spirits, angels, and demons, but in this situation, I'm pretty sure I'm not schizophrenic. I remember arriving in Hokkaido, Japan. We arrived at the Sapporo airport. Then we took a bus that would drive a couple of hours there. I remember when we arrived to the resort, there was a huge snowstorm that rolled in. I remember it being very windy. It almost sounded scary. I think we entered one of the hotels that had twin towers. We got to our floor and started settling in for the night. While settling in, I felt some strange presence, almost like something was wrong or like something wasn't okay about this place. For some strange reason, I started getting a stomachache. I remember before going to bed, I closed my eyes. Then I felt like someone was watching me. It felt strange and very unsettling. I barely opened my eyes to see if I could see anything. To my surprise, I saw a black figure move quickly and aggressively. I opened my eyes and said, "I saw you," which I regret doing because after that night, it got worse.
She's like, "Bitch, I saw you too." So what?
When I tried falling asleep, it almost felt like someone was choking me, and I kept waking up. I kept seeing the black figure move swiftly. The choking or awakening felt so uncomfortable, I almost felt like crying. Eventually, I fell asleep.
The choking was so uncomfortable.
Can you stop choking me? It's like making me uncomfortable.
That reminds me of that story we read in the vampire episode.
Yeah.
The Russian one.
Why do ghosts just want to choke people?
In their sleep. So inconsiderate.
When I woke up in the morning, I felt very ill. I told my friends and his family about what happened to me, but they didn't believe me, and they thought maybe it was my imagination. I remember that night I felt that strange feeling. The events that happened the first night also happened the following nights, but it seemed like it became worse the second and third night. I remember I could barely eat anything because of my stomach pain. I remember my friend's mom during this time ridiculing or making fun of the stuff I was seeing. For some strange reason later, she started getting a stomachache, which she wasn't able to eat much as well. I also remember getting to get a drink at the cafeteria area during our last day there. When I went to get the drink, I poured it into the cup, but for some strange reason, when I was about to leave, I remember reality changing, and the cup moved out of my hand, and it was moved to the edge, and it spilled all over a man. The man wasn't very happy.
No shit.
And I heard an evil laugh after that happened. Ha 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 ha. It felt like the demon who was bothering me somehow did some kind of reality switch on me, almost like a parallel universe thing.
Oh my god, it's like that episode of Buffy.
Which one?
You know where there's the evil genie? When Cordelia was like, "I wish Buffy never came into my life," or something.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
That was a creepy one.
Anya.
It's funny when she was hitting on Xander. She was like, "Aren't we gonna kiss?"
I still remember this stuff to this day. Nothing strange has ever happened to me since. I don't know if I was going crazy or if that was actually happening. I never heard anyone else talk about spirits choking them in their sleep or changing realities. Well, then you haven't watched this podcast. I don't know if I was insane or if it was actually real. Let me know if this has ever happened to you or if you've ever been to this resort. This place just felt off and strange. I never want to go back there again.
I'm thinking when they say an old resort, I'm just thinking of like liminal spaces. Like, you know, like half abandoned, and it's like there's not really like people going skiing there, just kind of like cheaper option to go.
It sounds like a horror movie.
It's really creepy. When we went to BC last summer, we stopped at this ghost town, but it was beside a hotel. It's like an older hotel. It has that liminal space vibe to the hotel, but there's a ghost town beside it. They organized almost kind of like a heritage park type of thing where there's all these old buildings, and it's very secluded. So it's kind of on the side of the road when you're driving, so you kind of see it from the distance, and I always wondered, like, can you just pull over and just look what it is? But the hotel, that's kind of what the vibe I'm imagining, where it's just very creepy, I don't know, half abandoned kind of. Like there's still people staying there, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I don't really see why you would even stay there.
The vibes are off.
Yeah. But it's like the only way you would go there is because it's more affordable or something. But there's a reason why it's affordable. John Lennon's girlfriend is haunting it.
There's also an edit from the OP, and they say, I almost forgot to say, during the first strange night during a snowstorm, I swear I saw a woman in white in the air outside the window in this heavy snow falling. Her face looked almost like some type of Japanese doll, similar to the Yuki Onna, a winter ghost. She almost looked like one of those old Japanese kid shows with a snow monster woman who transforms into a monster, specifically The Return of Ultraman. Never heard of that one.
Me neither. It's probably like a Japanese show. Do you think it's a ghost or more of like a cryptid or a demon? Because it says it's like a winter ghost. But do you think it's like a species of... Because they all look the same, like if people see them?
I think there's different legends about Yuki Onna. Like in some legends, she's like just a ghost. In some, she's like some type of higher being. So
like
I think there's
goddess
different...
almost?
Yeah, kind of.
Because if it's a ghost, it would be in a specific spot, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because it would just be haunting like the specific area. But I think if it is more of like a demon or like a higher being, like a goddess or something like that, it could appear in like multiple areas.
Yeah. I think it's called a ghost because she looks like a woman. And like those other entities we talked about, they look more like monsters, whereas she just looks like a person. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like some type of entity.
So this is the end of our 5th episode. If you've gotten this far, thank you so much for listening. Remember to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments which story you like the best and what topics you'd like us to cover next. If you want to check out the final art for today's episode, go to our Instagram at Baba Yaga's Crib. You can also follow us on TikTok at baba.yaga.crib. And see you next time if you find your way back.